Welcome back, learners. So now, as you have said, moving to our first concept being the types of materials. So let's talk about that briefly. So we need to know that with regards to the types of material, we have three types of them. And there are three different things that happen when light hits a surface or when light hits each of those different materials. So light, if it hits one of the substances, it can be reflected. That means it can bounce off, or it can be absorbed, or lastly, it can be transmitted, meaning that light can be able to pass through that particular material. So glass reflects some light, but most of the light is transmitted straight through. So that means that light is able to pass through that glass material, which is why we can be able to see objects on the other side of the glass or on the other side of a closed window. So if we can be able to see objects on the other side of a glass or the other side of a closed window, we're saying that glass is transparent. So if a substance or if an object, or rather a material in this case, allows us to see objects on the other side of it, we are then saying that that object is transparent because it is able to transmit light, or rather it is able to allow light to pass through itself. Now, if a substance is not transparent, then that substance is said to be opaque. So if a substance is not transparent, meaning that that substance is not allowing light to pass through it, so we're saying that that substance is opaque. So now, if substance is opaque, we are then saying that it doesn't allow light to pass through, and because of that, we are unable to see objects on the other side of that particular substance. So like for instance, if you are looking through a wall, there's nothing that you're going to be seeing on the other side of a wall or a brick wall, because light does not pass through the brick wall. So therefore, you can't be able to see what's happening on the other side. And those substances are said to be opaque. However, some substances such as a plastic shopping bag allows some light to pass through. However, it doesn't allow all of that light to pass through. So if a substance does that, if a substance allows some of the light to pass through and some of it is not allowed to pass through, then that substance is called a translucent substance, or rather a semi-transparent substance. So number one, a substance allowing all of the light to pass through is said to be a transparent substance. And because of a transparent substance, we can be able to see objects on the other side of that particular substance. If a substance doesn't allow any light to pass through, for instance, the brick wall, you aren't able to see anything on the other side of that brick wall. So therefore, we're saying that that particular substance or that particular material is opaque. And if it happens that the material allows some of the light to pass through, however, some of it doesn't pass through, we're saying that that substance is translucent, or we can say that substance is semi-transparent, because it allows some of the light to pass through and some of it is not allowed to pass through. So those are the three different types of materials that we have. We have opaque materials, which do not allow any light to pass through. We have transparent materials which allow the light to pass through, hence we are able to see on the other side of the material. And then lastly, we have the translucent substances or the translucent materials. And then those ones, they allow some of the light to pass through. So with regards to the absorption of light, the way in which we see color, the way in which we are able to see the colors around you, it has to do with what happens when light hits the surface. So the reason why you're able to see the red roses you can see here, it is because of how of what light does when it hits that particular surface of the flower. So when light hits a surface, some of the light is absorbed and the rest is reflected. So we do know that light comes in a form of a white light, and then that white light, it has 7 different colors, and then those 7 different colors, this is going to happen to them. Some of them, they are going to be absorbed, and some of them, they are going to be reflected. Now, it is because of the reflected light that reaches our eyes and allows us to see the object. So because of the reflected light, we can then be able to see the object that light hit in the beginning. Because light comes from the source, Light coming from the luminous object, striking the surface of the object, and then some of that light is going to be reflected into our eyes. And because of that, we are able to see that particular object. As we can see, the light coming from the sun being the luminous object, light coming in a form of electromagnetic waves, hitting the surface of the flower, and then reflected onto your eyes. And because of that, you are able to perceive, you are able to see that this is actually a flower, or rather this is actually a red rose. So white light, as we've said, it is a mixture of different colors. Remember, 7 colors, our 7 spectrum. Remember, you always need to think of the Roig beef. So when white light from the sun hits the red shell of the ladybird, as we can see, we have a ladybird here. So when the white light hits the sun, when the white light from the sun hits the red shell of the ladybird, all of the colors are going to be absorbed. So all of the colors are going to be absorbed except for the red color. So except for the red. So this one is going to be reflected onto our eyes, and which is why you're going to be able to see the ladybird. And because the red is reflected onto our eyes, then we are going to be able to perceive that this particular color is red, or this particular insect is a red insect. So red light is reflected back to our eyes, and so we can see the red color from the ladybird. But then we do know that this particular ladybird has different colors. It has red and also the black color. We need to also discuss then what happens to the black color. We can also say the very same example using a green leaf. White light coming from the luminous object being the sun, coming onto the surface of the leaf, and then all the other colors are going to be absorbed except for the green color. And because that green color, it is reflected back onto your eyes, you are able to perceive the color as green. You're able to see that this leaf has a green color, or rather this leaf has a green surface. If it happens that maybe let's say the blue was reflected off onto your eyes, you are going to be able to see that the leaf would be blue because only the blue color will be reflected, and all the other ones were going to be absorbed by that particular object, right? Now, as we have said, the ladybird has 2 different colors, as we can see here. We have the red and we also have the black. We have discussed how we're seeing the red. Now, what about the black color? So as you have said, what about the black spots of the ladybird? Is black a color? Is black a color? We do know that that black spot on the ladybird absorbs, or we should know that it absorbs all the colors and no light is reflected. So the black, it is not really the color of light. Why? Because that spot is going to absorb all the 7 colors coming from the white light, and none of the colors are going to be reflected onto our eyes, which is why the spots appear black, because there's no reflection of any color. So basically what we are seeing is we are seeing the absence of color. There is no color that is being reflected off onto our eyes. So that is why we have that black spot. We're also seeing that this ladybird has some white spots there. We also need to also discuss what happens when we are looking at a white object or any white surface. So we do know that light comes in a form, or comes in white, or it comes as white light, and then that white light contains our 7 different colors, our Roig beef, and if the surface is set to be red, then all the other colors are going to be absorbed, only the red is going to be reflected. Now, what about the white? So, black or matte objects absorb all the colors, as we have said. However, the white objects, they reflect all of the light. So if they're reflecting all of the light, remember that the combination of these different colors gives us white. So if all of the colors are reflected, that simply means when they come into our eyes, we're perceiving white, because we're perceiving their color, or rather the light coming from the luminous object. So black matte, or rather not shiny objects, they absorb all the colors that we have talked about, the 7 different colors. However, the white, it is going to be reflecting all of the colors. Black absorbs all, and what we are seeing is the absence of color, or the absence of reflection. whereas the white surface, it is going to be reflecting all of the colors, and what we are going to be seeing here, it is basically the combination of all those different colors that we are seeing there. And remember, when all those colors are combined together, they're giving us a white light. So now we have talked about how we are able to perceive light. We have talked also about how we are able to perceive a color, be it any color of that is coming from the white light. And then we've also talked about that when a substance, or rather when we are seeing black, we are actually saying that that is the absence of reflection or the absence of color that is coming from the light. However, when we are seeing a white light, we are actually saying that that's a reflection of all the colors that are coming from the white light, coming from the source. So before moving on to our next concept, we're just going to quickly go for a short break, and I will see you just after this.